All right,
Hello.
welcome to another exciting edition. Here we go. Another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. And this evening, we are pleased to have joining us Ash Brown, podcaster deluxe. 2,000 shows under her belt, a 500,000 streams. And she joins us now from Metro Atlanta. Ash, what a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining Brock and myself.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Brock. I appreciate the invite. I never try to turn down if I can fit in some more talking time because y'all are probably going to have to tell me to shut up, Ash. Okay, Ash. Really, Ash.
That is quite all right. There's plenty to talk about. So, Ash, as you know, Brock and I have been doing this show for about a month and a half now, about 6 to 8 weeks, and we were just exasperated about what's going on in the political arena. You are in the state of Georgia, so you understand how frustrating that can be,
Yeah.
um, especially when it comes to the racial dynamic of it. So, from a black woman's standpoint, we've suffered through recently Stacey Abrams. We suffered through Keisha Lance Bottoms being just harpooned at every turn as she was mayor of the great city of Atlanta. So there's been so much. We saw the WNBA Dream Team owner Kelly Loeffler have to give up her stake in ownership. So, from a racial perspective, from a woman's perspective, we want to know, what are black women thinking right about now? We know the 92% who didn't vote for Trump,
Here.
but yeah, exactly. But are they coming back to help us save our democracy? That is the question that I have.
That is a very good starting point. Now, obviously, I can't speak for every black woman. I
Right,
can only
right,
speak
right,
for myself. But
right.
it's just been exhausting. Even before we got onto the call, I was talking with Brock about, we were talking about Twitter and how the dynamic has changed there. And after the election, it just like got nastier, got crazier. That's why I found out about Blue Sky. I was like, I'm going to someplace else where things are a little bit more positive, and it's not so bogged down by just like negativity. And I think like I said, I can only speak for myself. It's exhausting. It's exhausting that they put Agent Orange back into the White House. There's no other way of putting it. Like I could not believe it. Still kind of in disbelief and watching democracy just being dismantled in real time is absolutely insane. The stuff that is just happening has just been mind-boggling and disheartening. And as a black woman in America, I'm exhausted. I'm completely exhausted because the things that are being brought to the forefront and to the table are not things that are just like, oh, these are little petty things and we're, upset about this or upset about that. But it's like even women's health, that was a pivotal time. Roe v. Wade being overturned is not even something that entered my stratosphere of thinking. And when that happened, people were like, oh, well, it's not going to be so bad. It's, it's going to roll over and things are going to be okay. But as a woman in America, and especially as a black woman, women's care is health care. Because I have known women, I've not myself had an abortion, but I've known several women that I went to school with, that I've worked with, that were in situations where an abortion was a life or death situation for them. Life or death. And it wasn't cosmetic, oh, they had a one night stand. No, this is like a married couple, and this, medical issue has come up to where her life is at stake. So when people want to try to trivialize abortion and things of that nature, and I'm just like, you don't even get it because you're not a woman. No man has ever told you, oh, well, you can't do that with your body. You can't do that with your body. It's different for a woman to feel as though we are defeated, because that really, a lot of it stems from that. And from there, like dismantling the Department of Education. What? Like, it is so disturbing. It's sad. It's somber. It's all of the above. And I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. It's just been really excruciating and exhausting. As a woman in America, it's been exhausting. I try not, like, I seep out and I check the news, every, couple of days or so, because social media is going to give you the highlights anyways. So I kind of lean on that, because if you pour too much into the news and what's going on, it's going to send you, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have all kind of health issues going on. You're just going to be just go ahead and put her up on the shelf somewhere. She's going to be finished. So I do my best in just being in control of what I'm in control of, and not so much focusing on, oh, he's doing all these grandiose things, all these great things that are going to influence our lives for forever. Focus on what's in front of you, and focus on what you can actually handle and what is actually there. And yeah, that's full. That was a whole bunch, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's how I've been feeling, and that's just that's where my head's at right now.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Brock, what do you got?
Are you optimistic at all? I don't even want to start with that, because I know you're an optimist, because you told me about your podcast and you're always looking for the most uplifting thing out there. And I feel like almost that we're dragging you down by like talking politics. So we'll get to maybe some uplifting stuff. But I'm just going to ask some direct questions. Are you disappointed in white America and white women in particular that they didn't come through in the election relative with women's health being put in peril directly by Trump? Did you just feel abandoned and let down, or were you not surprised because you don't have a high expectation?
I was honestly disappointed. The first time that he won, you're just like, oh my gosh, how could all these women, the feminists that are in this country, how could that even, like, how does that happen? But the second time, you're just like, but you know what happened before, right? Like, were we not paying attention? What was this? You know what happened before? So it was still mind blowing, because there was so much more at stake this second time. There was a lot at stake the first time, but the second time there was even more at stake for women and women's health in this country. And so when that happened, it was disappointing. Like you're saying, like the 92% Black women, I think it was like 86 or 87% Jewish women. I forgot the other percentages. And then it was white men, and it was Black men, and it was Hispanics, and, and you're just like, wow, like, what did you guys think was going to happen? And then they're all, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's deporting people and he's deporting us. And again, what did you think was going to happen? Like, what, you thought he was playing? You thought he was joking? No, he told you what he was going to do. So,
in the here and now, when you do pop on to social media and you see these clips of these town halls and these rooms full of like old white guys screaming and yelling at their representatives to, quote, do something for them, like, what goes through your head? How do you react to those scenes?
Do something for them. Everything has been done for you. You've had this country. It's been done. Like, I don't understand why, I don't get it. It's puzzling. I'm like, I'm switching off to something else, because I'm not. No,
you don't even want to hear the argument. You don't even want to hear the argument that they're making.
Don't even care for it, because this whole country has been built on the backs of indigenous people, of Black people, of Hispanics, and God bless the Native Americans. At least they got some bit of it's crazy. And to say, like, oh, we're gonna make America great again. What does that even mean? Like, when were we great? Well, things like, I believe it was 1974 was the first year that women in this country could have their own bank account without their father, without their husband. Yeah. Before that, women, oh, you can't handle your own money. Oh no, you want a credit card? No. And so, like, to see the shield of that possibly be something that happens again, I don't know. I really don't know. So I don't know. You kind of feel like you're a bit.
So you have zero tolerance for the complaining
Yeah, I don't want to
old
hear that. No.
guy who is upset because something finally impacted his life. Maybe for the first time in his life, something went against him. You're not there for it.
Not moved, not in the least.
And Brock, like I told you, that was the prevailing sentiment. That was what Brock and I have discussed this, and I was like, Brock, they're not there. I'm telling you, I live with a black woman from Queens, and
Oh,
she's a lawyer, and she's not there. And I think the diametrically opposed results we got from the election show us that, right? White women were way over there, black women were way over there, and never the two shall meet in between. And that to me, kind of led me to make the phone call I made to Brock. It's like, why aren't we talking? Because women's issues are women's issues, right?
yeah,
Bodily autonomy doesn't affect one woman, and one woman another. But then, why do we have these atrocious mortality rates for black women,
exactly.
right? And why is healthcare so much more difficult for black women to acquire, right? And because abortion was one of those issues that was seen as, okay, well, white women, if they really need it, they'll find a way to get it, right? Because they'll have the means, right? And so we have these issues, and this is what Brock and I have been talking about, Ash, is that, we're arguing about, we're upset with the Trump administration about different issues,
Yeah,
right? So we got a common enemy, but we can't come together to fight the common enemy because we have different issues.
yeah.
So how do you think we bridge this gap?
Conversations need to happen. I can't even tell you how many people, both black and white, this past election, that straight up told me, I'm not voting. I'm not gonna vote. They're gonna decide for us anyways. I'm not gonna vote. And I'm like, you're black. You're a woman. You're in America. Black men, black women, white men that all said, hands off, not going to vote this election. They're going to tell us who's going to be in office anyways. And I'm like, if it wasn't important, then they wouldn't be stopping people from getting to the polls.
Voting.
If it
Right.
wasn't important and if it didn't have an impact, they wouldn't fight so much to block neighborhoods from getting, early voting. All those, I don't know if you heard about, I think it was like 3,000 ballots in Cobb County, Georgia, that just mysteriously just were floating in the Everglades somewhere.
Right.
There was so much writing on this, and when the numbers came back, it showed that there was a huge percentage of people that did not vote that could have decided this election a different way. Could have been decided differently.
Easily.
And Ash, in that vein, do you think that there is like let's call it the opposition, right? The opposition to this Trump 2.0 MAGA white supremacy movement. Is there, who do you consider like the leaders of the opposition? Do you think anyone has emerged? Is there a voice that's mattered since Trump took over?
I think as a whole, they're just like the most dysfunctional circus I've ever seen. I don't know if there's necessarily like one per se move. Like they're all moving at their own rhythm, different times, different angles, but they're not necessarily moving in unison together. But they're all kind of like moving seemingly forward in, their plan, Project 2025. I don't necessarily think that there's like one particular leader. I think Trump is a puppet. Musk, in the Oval Office, like in slacks, just chilling out.
To the left, whether it be the Democratic Party or just the left or the anti-Trump movement, do you see a leader on that side of the ledger?
Not necessarily either. I feel like they failed. I feel the Democratic side failed as far as having a plan to follow through. I feel that's where they failed in pushing forward. Whereas the right, they're coming for our necks. They're slicing off people. They're coming for everything. And then the left is like, oh, well, we'll pray for them and we'll hope that our country comes together and it, we're just gonna be one of those good old boys and just let them, it's gonna be okay. Everybody just simmer down. And I'm like, you're not matching the energy. Like, when Biden won, like it was a whole January 6th. Nobody's acting like that didn't happen. And I just feel like there's not enough force pushing the Democratic Party, because I also feel as though they're also kind of moving, similar, like somewhat like the right is, but there's no clear like leader that's leading out. You have people with voices that come forward and that are, making their stance and, trying to get people interested and trying to gather up. But everyone at this point, I don't even know. I've never seen our country like this ever. I've never studied anything like this. I've never seen anything in any books. I've never seen our country more divided and without a real clear picture of what progress means on either side.
Yeah.
So
Ash, what is progress? Because that's another question we ask regularly, right? What is progress for the left? We specifically talk about the left because we can't relate to the right, right? We're not built like that.
No.
So what is progress, right? Is it protests? Is it shutting things down? Is it boycotting Walmart, Tesla, Amazon?
Yeah.
What should we be doing in the eyes of the black woman
Right.
to help stop the bleeding, if you will?
Right. I think that all those things are necessary. I think give it a try. Let's see if it works. We have to try something. Putting our hands up in the air. Oh well, they won, so it's it's a done deal. That's not an option. Yeah, does it feel good to lose? No, it doesn't feel good to lose and to be on the receiving end. But we have to try something. We have to push forward. If that's congregating, us gathering together, trying to push forward and making things right for ourselves and making things right for our futures, because we got kids and grandkids and all these different generations that are coming up. Are they even going to have a country to be proud of? Like affairs, like they're toss them in the trash. Nobody's taking us serious. I can't even blame them. France wants the Statue of Liberty back. We might as well just go ahead and let them have it. Like, you know what? We aren't worthy. Go ahead and take her back, please. It hurts me to say so as a native New Yorker. You know what? I wouldn't even feel bad if you took her back. Because, yeah, you're right. We don't respect her. We're not. Nope. Take her back.
Brock, why don't you fill Ash in on who we thought were some of the people that were moving us in the right direction?
We've definitely thought that AOC and Jasmine Crockett have been the two loudest, most consistent, most entertaining, and most aggressive voices on the left. Certainly Bernie Sanders, as usual, out there with his economic message of, so he's perfect for the anti-oligarch message because he's all about class warfare. I've always felt Bernie has a blind spot for race, but he's great about class warfare and feeling that workers are getting screwed. For like 50 years, he's been saying it.
Yes.
So he's consistent, but it's come around and the message seems timely.
Yeah.
But after that, we've struggled. There have been maybe J.D. Pritzker has made some noise and has given some good speeches along the way. And, I mean, we've really struggled beyond that. There's people we hoped would come forward. And a few, like I forget, what's his name, from Connecticut has been pretty good. And Jamie Raskin has his lane when it's legal issues. Jamie Raskin's good. Hakeem Jeffries is finally coming around. He was clearly too quiet.
Yes.
Like he was like a mini Chuck Schumer for like a month, but I think he's gotten the message. Buttigieg gotten the message. He's being more aggressive also. I mean, I miss Kamala, and
yes,
I wish for her voice to come back. I wonder if you feel the same, or do you feel like it's not right because she just lost the presidential election, but she had such an energetic following. It's like
I feel that that's where the party failed off the jump, because I feel like and I don't know and I don't remember if this was quoted somewhere or if he just said it somewhere, but I remember when we were in the pandemic and everything was going crazy and Joe Biden stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to take him on. I'm going to take our country back. We're going to get everything in order. I just want to do one term. I want to be a one-term president. That's what I want to do. Everybody's like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. Let's get it. Let's do it. He gets in there. He goes and does the 4 years. Okay. So now, as we're getting up on the second round, it's like he clearly, the country could see he was aging. And as we all do, we're all going to age. We're all going to get up there and age. But he didn't have the same fire and the vibrancy that he had previously. So from that point, they should have already put Kamala in the seat. They should have given her that platform and been like, you know what, we're going to push behind her. Them chucking her in like what, it was like 3 or 4 months before the election. I don't feel that that was enough to make an impact on people and to travel the country and to get to all those spots and touch enough hearts and get people to know her versus, oh, we're just going to sneak her in last minute. No, I think that was a big mistake. I think either way, Biden would have lost because he seemingly was not, he wasn't what the country needed. People wanted vibrancy. People wanted that same fire that he had initially. And when we weren't seeing that, he's falling up the stairs. Biden, what happened? Every time? You're falling up the staircase, sir. No. So I get that, okay, he's been in the seat and he was the vice president and now he's the president. But I feel like if they had started that campaign with her earlier, she would have had a better chance.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Ash, what are the other...
Mark, let me just ask the follow-up. But do you think that she should be more vocal now and be back immediately in the fight? Or does she have to sort of step aside because she lost the election?
Good point.
I think most people will be like, oh, well, she should just stay in the fight and just, stick it out. I think she's taken a step back. And I kind of agree with that because it was a brutal, the way that everything went down. I think it was a little too fast. And I think she probably felt set up too. I think she probably felt like, you know what, this was not as well constructed as, it may have been put off to me. So I think her taking a step back is enough for her to recharge because, you got this Cheeto that's up there at the White House that is, like going after all his political enemies. We have people that are starving. Why are you going after people? It doesn't even make sense. You're praising a dictator. You're letting this guy from South Africa run the Oval Office. Make it make sense.
Yeah. And so, that brings us to another interesting point that we always harp on. And Brock and I sort of believe, well, we really believe that in order for this white supremacist movement to be beat down, the resistance, the opposition has to be white led. And, we feel like having minorities out in front, whether it's black and brown or Latina, Asian, having others out in front won't get it done. And I feel like it makes it even more dangerous because then you're more likely to see, you're more likely to see the government go to violence versus the others. When we didn't see, we saw 2 or 3 shots fired on January 6th. And, some cops lost their lives that day. So, how do you feel about a white-led movement to take the country back from this white supremacy movement or mindset or muskiness that he's brought in here? I mean, it's just a mess.
Muskiness. I love that, muskiness. I definitely feel as though the white voice would be powerful in this resistance, in this opposition. I think it definitely would be powerful. I think on the lines of when I saw a lot of the protests dealing with Roe v. Wade, there were a lot of men that came out to the forefront and said, hey, I've got sisters, I've got a wife, I've got daughters. I think having other voices there to support the masses is huge. So yes, I definitely feel as though, white-led, be it men and women, we need this. We're going to need something to happen, just so we don't completely just lose control of our country, as It's kind of looking like. So that's a
Yeah, it feels like it's slipping away.
it,
Yeah,
it does. It's scary.
Mark, also, like, I just, I mean, I can't speak for, black people, right? I can only speak as a one white guy. It's just be like, it's because it's such a white supremacist oriented movement, a Project 2025. I mean, racism is all over that document, right? And it's been all over the implementation of it by Musk and his team, right? And Trump, we all know, especially if you're from New York, right? You knew Trump was a racist from the 70s. Like, Jesus, like, the rest of the country's surprised by this. Like, we knew this guy was a joker from the get. But yeah, there's just a belief that there's got to be, kind of white on white, conflict here at the start out in front, and then be more likely to get others to follow behind. So, I mean, that's kind of part of what we've been kind of looking for. Like, who's going to come out and say white supremacy doesn't work? Like, we're white, but white supremacy isn't the America we want, right? It's like a free and equal America that we bought into and thought that everyone bought into. At least now, not in the history of America, but in like the 2020s. We thought that was the prevailing mindset, but, way off. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that was naive.
Right. So Ash, when you think about your outlook, what needs to happen for you to get your thoughts back into the positive column? Like what, for Brock and I, it's like, yes, so-and-so got indicted, or, this buffoon got, banished to Western New York to work in her congressional district. Like small things like that move us. What would get you excited?
In a positive, a true leader just emerging, and that's even from any division, any party, because it's not even about Democrat or Republican. It's about who's a good human, who is a human enough that it's going to think about the people of this country. My family are immigrants. My family comes from the Caribbean, from Jamaica, from Trinidad and Tobago, Belize. They come from all over. These are honest people that came over here that worked their butt off. They had to go and get attorneys and do immigration stuff in the 60s and the 70s. And they worked to the damn bone. And to hear someone talk about immigrants and, oh, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and all these things. And I'm just like, and people actually taking that as fact is even more mind blowing. I'm like, there's no fact to back that up. You people are not even look like that. What cats and dogs are eating? How many of them? Like, what are you talking about? Where are these stories coming from? So it's like the fact that, and then you have these platforms like Facebook. Like I said, Twitter just needs to go into the graveyard somewhere, because Twitter's been dead for a minute anyways. Musk just kind of put his muskiness on it, and it's just made it worse. So Twitter's gone. Twitter's gone. But even like Facebook, a couple weeks ago, Zuckerberg, he's all, we're going to remove, the fact checker stuff. And, we didn't want to take away from people's, freedom of expression and all this crap. I'm like, so you're going to let people just get on the app and just lie and just create their own stories and create their own facts. There's not going to be any kind of fact checker going on, because again, you're trying to please this, the great orange one. At the end of it, it's just like, there's so much that's going on. I don't know what it's going to take necessarily. We just need a leader to emerge and put us back on track. Because right now, I feel like we're off track. We're at the railroad. We're completely off track. And nobody knows how to get this train back on in the right direction. So we need a good leader to emerge. And, I guess we just take it step by step from there. But we need the leadership. That's number one. You give a baby the nuclear codes, and then you're under, whoa, I don't know how everything blew up. How did this happen? I don't even know. The baby blew it up. What is this? Of course the baby blew it. It's a baby. You gave the baby the nuclear codes? Of course you're going to blow shit up. Sorry. Didn't mean to cuss.
Yeah, do you think anyone can come forward and actually say, you know what? I'm pro-immigrant. I'm pro-immigration. Like, America is all about immigration. And like, we're all immigrants, and that's what's helped build this country.
Exactly.
Do you think anyone can ever say that, or is it always viewed as such a negative, probably because of racism, right? Because no one gets mad about European, immigrants, right? But do you think anyone's ever going to be able to say that? Because that's one of my pet peeves. Because I'm like, I want the Democratic Party to just come out and say we're pro-immigrant.
Right.
And I think they're all afraid to say it because they think I just think they're afraid of the electorate, and they think they're afraid of the people, that the people are too racist, and they'll immediately get painted or they'll get out-messaged by the Republicans. But do you think anyone can ever get away with saying they're pro-immigrant?
They need to start saying it because, like you said, this country is comprised of immigrants. The Native Americans were here before white people were here. Native Americans. So when people are like, oh, the immigrants are coming in and they're taking the jobs and whatever. I'll tell you, and you probably know, Mark, right there off of Jonesboro Road, there in Atlanta, there's always, right at that Home Depot, there's always, you'll see Mexican Americans standing out there. You'll see probably anywhere from 20 to 50 of them sitting out there first thing in the morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. They're looking for work.
All day.
They're in their work clothes. They're ready to go. And they're doing the jobs that, historically speaking, nobody else wants to do. These hard, back-breaking jobs that they're doing. And now you're doing this sweep and you're getting rid of people. And then I saw that article a couple days ago about that guy who was a Trumper, and his wife got pulled by ICE, and she's headed back to wherever she's going. What did you think was going to happen? You thought you were special. You thought you were. Oh, he's going to show you. He's going to show you.
Yeah. Ash, the other folks that we are kind of not feeling sorry for are these folks that said, yeah, we voted for Trump, but we didn't vote for it to happen to us.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Or happen to others.
Yeah.
But we want to embrace them. Is that something you see happening, or are we not going to be able to bridge that gap either?
That's a difficult one because when they say because I saw I think it's the Venezuelans that were in Florida, and they're like, oh, we feel like we were bamboozled, and hoodwinked, because he said, he's going to take care of these people, and he's taking some of our family members, and he's taking these people and those people. So you thought you were special. As long as they were brown and black people that you weren't related to or you didn't know, you didn't care.
Ooh, yeah.
But once the hammer slammed down and your folks were being taken, your folks were getting sent back to your country, that's when you had the issue. Got it. So I don't have, honestly, any sympathy for those people. I don't have any sympathy for them. They could change their mind. They could become better people. They could. I don't know. But as of right now, it is what it is.
But if we start stacking up all the people, it's hard to have sympathy for the farmers, the white rural farmers who are now going to lose their farm because we got rid of USAID, so they don't have customers anymore. And the Cuban Americans down in Florida who've been voting Republican and turned that whole state red, and now it's their family members that are getting deported. Right, the Muslims up in Michigan in Dearborn who decided lesser of two evils Trump, and he wants to turn Gaza into a golf course, right? His golf course, while all the Palestinians just get kicked out and thrown to other countries. So there's a lot of I told you so's of people that it's hard to have sympathy for. But if we're gonna really push back and show big numbers against the white supremacy movement.
Yeah,
we kind of need them all. We kind of need them all in the boat eventually, but it's hard not to. or just the white guys like with the gray beards and the tattoos out in the Midwest at these town halls who had great federal jobs and had been living the life for 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden Doji just cut their job out, and now they're where I joke with Marcus how quick white people can go to violence, right? They're the angriest of everyone, right? Those town halls have more anger in them than anywhere else because they can't believe that shit got taken from them. They can't believe that they're in with the others. It's just,
Yeah.
mind-boggling to
No,
them.
you're absolutely right. I think right now it's so raw and it's so like we're only in like the third month. We're going into month 4, my birth month. And so much stuff has compiled. Like it's I can't even wrap my brain around it. So much stuff has happened in 3 months. 3 months. And so much stuff has come down on it. And so, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We are going to need more people. We're going to need more numbers. We're going to need those folks. Oh, maybe when things kind of calm down, I won't say I'll have sympathy for them, but we may let them join our side. We may let them come on over.
Can you envision? Yeah, can you envision? Can you even envision a protest march with a bunch of farmers standing next to a bunch of Venezuelans with a couple LGBTQ right on their hip, marching down on the Great Lawn together in an anti-trope movement, like what I call like the most unholy, unlikely alliance in the history of America, but only brought together because they all are feeling screwed.
Yeah.
Can you? Is it? Am I? Is? Can you even envision that?
I think it can happen. Anything is possible. Nothing is impossible. So I still say anything is possible. I can't necessarily see that right now because we're in the thick of it. Like we're literally in the start of the stuff. But I think it could be possible. I think that could be something that actually happens. Absolutely.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much for that, Ash. We're going to check back with you in 30 days
Okay.
and take.
Before Ash leaves, I wanted Ash. You started to tell me before we got on camera, so tell me a little bit about like your podcast because you say that you spend like 10, 15 minutes like looking for like uplifting stories, and I think me and Mark are like I feel like we're like the downer crew sometimes because we're talking about like how America's unraveling, but you're like trying to still find like those rays of sunshine
And the days.
beneath the clouds. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And how are you keeping that optimism and bringing that to your podcast? Because like we try to find good stuff, but like we got to really search for it.
Well, I think I guess to start off is how the podcast actually started. Back in 2013, I joined the Army. My mom was really sick, and I wanted to get her on my health insurance. So I was like, the military has the best, health insurance in the world. I get my mom on that. She's taken care of. She's good. So I left for training December 30th, 2013, and she passed within 12 hours of me leaving.
Oh.
And so I had a whole mental breakdown there. Like my heart wasn't in it anymore. They kept me in my contract. It was a whole thing. So I felt, because essentially I learned a lot about the military from that situation. I was essentially property of Uncle Sam. And there was a lot of restrictions. Like they gave me 7 days to go plan the funeral, do the funeral, and head back to basic training. That was just too much. It was a lot for me to handle. So they kept me in my contract for about 15 months after that. So I still had to report once a month. And I just felt so constrained and just so stuck in it. I was talking with a friend of mine and she was like, hey, why don't you start another podcast show? I have a background in broadcast radio. And I was like, I don't want to do that. People are unreliable. They don't do what they say they're going to do. I got to be the grandmother in the situation. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. So, so she's like, no. There's this app called Spreaker. If you get on this app, Spreaker, you download it on your phone. It's super easy, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this so she gets off of my back. And I'm really tired of talking to her about this. So I was like, I'm going to download this app and I'm just going to record these sessions. So I would record 2 5-minute sections first thing in the morning, random days. They weren't set days. It's really when I would remember about the app, honestly. And I would do talk about my journey. I would talk about my mom. I would be crying. The whole 9 yards. So probably the first 100 shows are just me being very emotional and very raw because I was in the thick of my grief. So they emailed me one day and they said, hey, we're adding shows to iHeartRadio. Would you like us to add your show? And I'm like, this random show that I'm doing out of my car first thing in the morning. that, I'm getting people to download here and there. Oh, that's cute. That's fun. I was like, you're going to put this on iHeartRadio? I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and apply because they're going to deny me anyways, right? So I apply, I forget about it. About a year passes. I'm still randomly doing this show. It has no focus. It has no theme. I'm just out there with my words and I'm getting these random downloads. I get an email from Spreaker congratulating me, telling me now your show is now available on iHeartRadio. Well, the average person would have been ecstatic. They would have been so happy. Oh my God, I'm on iHeartRadio. I was mortified because, again, this is my audio journal of me crying and going through and everything. So I was like, I got to find some way of making some lemonade out of this because this is not going to work out. So I reached out to just local people that I knew that had businesses, had events, had products to sell or whatever the case is. And I was like, hey, you want to come on my show and talk about your product, talk about your service or whatever? I'm like, yeah, sure. And, kept the episodes pretty short. And now, it's amassed over 2,000 episodes. I've self-produced. I've been a flight attendant 2 times over. During the pandemic, I was recording out of laundry rooms and bathrooms or wherever I could pull my iPad and my phone together to record these shows. And I just take down so many amazing stories of people that most of my audience are women. So, I get a lot of women. I get some men as well, so I don't discriminate. Everybody's welcome on the show. Everybody's welcome. But you just never know how the conversation is going to go. Just like how this went, my show is very unscripted. I may have like some key questions that I have, but I don't we're talking about this and this is what we're going to stick to. Because they may say something to trigger another idea out of my head. So, the show has turned into like the biggest tribute, I would say, to my mom, because all of that stemmed from that really difficult experience, So, now I talked to a little bit of everybody. I think my last guest was George Morgan, and she spells her name Jorj. George Morgan, and she's a cookbook, an author, and she's made like 12 cookbooks in her life, and she's talking about like how it started. I was like, how did this start, And she was making recipe for her son and his friends in college, and would help them to kind of upcycle their food, and and it turned into this blog, and now it's turned into books. So it's really, really awesome to hear all the different stories of people that come through. And so staying positive, I always get a good message out of every guest that comes on the show. And I'm just thankful and lucky that people are still downloading it and listening to and all the good stuff.
What a blessing. What a labor of love. That's awesome. And to be able to find good stories, wow. That is awesome. I love it. Well, tell our viewers where you can find your show, because it's ashsaidit.com.
Yeah. You guys can go to ashsaidit.com to find out everything about the show, blog. The show is the Ash Said It Show, so it's the Ash Said It Show. It's on every major platform. You can just search it, and you'll find me in my citrine, my canary yellow.
All right, Ash. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we're going to check back with you, if you don't mind, in 30 days.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed you so much. All right, and that's it for us. Brock, thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Mark, always a pleasure, Ash. Thank you very much. Pleasure speaking with you.
Yes, indeed. Good night, everybody.
All right, good night.